Check the mic and make sure.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the Group Chat brought to you by Overmark. I'm your host Darrell, and today joining me is Xin Wei. This is a really exciting episode purely because we are doing a live stream and we actually have no idea what we're doing. Okay, so we just wanted this to be a little more interactive. We'll definitely answer your questions for those that are currently on the live stream. Today's topic is on youth romance, yes or no. So we wanted to share our own story. Today is a very light-hearted one. Just in lieu of V-Day, Valentine's Day on Monday, we just wanted to talk briefly about love and, especially when we are all young and the good old days. Okay, but maybe I'll just throw it over to Xin Hui first. How do you feel right now on the live stream? Are you nervous?
I think it's quite fun. So for those who have been following us, you all know that me and Darrell, we started recording podcasts, but we pre-record. So but we usually just record it one shot. So it's not that we plan or anything, right? We don't actually plan. We always like super casual. But I think live stream is different because I can see like comments popping up. Then there are actually a few people joining us, even though it's on such a short notice. So I'm quite excited to talk to people, talk to our students.
Okay, maybe I'll start off first. I think this is going to be quite a personal kind of episode. So tune in if you want to hear our love stories, okay? Maybe just to start off casual, Sing, how do you spend your Valentine's Day?
I spend my Valentine's Day working.
Oh my God, I have to confess that I spent it giving tuition as well. Oops. But I mean, I celebrated it a little on Sunday. I used to take Valentine's Day a lot more seriously, but I think right now my girlfriend is pretty understanding. So, we try to work according to our own schedule. Okay. But I think what most people are here to hear is our own stories. So I think we can start off with that. Maybe I'll let you start off first and then I'll come in with my own story too. So, Xingwei, how was your love life like in secondary school and in JC?
I didn't have any like official love life. So I didn't have boyfriend then. Like, I didn't have boyfriend in secondary school and JC. So it's not anything exciting. So it's not as exciting, I guess, if people are here to hear about like love stories. There isn't much to share about. Yeah, but I'm excited to talk about this. I think it's nice to always talk about relationship and love and gossip, maybe if there's any.
So Xingwei, so your I mean, even though you didn't really get into a relationship, was there like any like maybe you had a crush or any interesting confessions?
Of course have lah. This kind of thing confirm have one. Yeah, we can share. But nothing, not into the relationship phase, but all these feelings and confessions and crushes definitely have. I'm sure there will be, I'm sure everyone has that.
Okay, maybe we start off slow first before we go into our own stories. I mean, right now, we are at a phase where we are in a very different stage compared to where we were back then. I think we can safely consider ourselves adults compared to being a student then. So I just wanted to get your perspective, right now at this point in your life, looking back, if it's a simple yes, no kind of question, if you're to our listeners out there, they are listening, will you encourage them to go for that youthful romance, or do you think it's not the way to go?
I think yes, because if there is someone, I think if there is someone, then yes. But if there is no one, then you don't have to force it also.
I do feel that when I was at that age, when I was in secondary school and I was in JC, I think it's very common to develop feelings for somebody that you like. I think there is no need to go and suppress those feelings actively. But I think it's also important to realize that is also the phase in your life whereby you're learning more about yourself. So I think it's not just about loving and, falling heads over heels over another person or even like a celebrity that you follow, but it's also the process of learning to love yourself, right? So learning, even not say love yourself, to a certain extent, discovering yourself and growing to be a better version of yourself. So for myself, I never shied away from the fact that I had feelings for certain girls that I was interested in, but I think to me, right, that was one of the things I was obviously interested in, but it was never my only focus. I understood like my responsibility as a student, right? I knew that I had to study lah because I know it would tangibly affect my future. And I also really spent a lot of time with my friends, like in my clique. And I also spent a lot of time pursuing my passion. So love was not, it was on my radar, what was never my only thing. Okay, now just to kick off and get the juicy part in, I have to confess that my secondary school was a little bit lukewarm purely because I was from a boys' school. So I'm just going to skip that portion.
Same, I was from a girls' school.
There wasn't much there, but in JC, co-ed, right? So there's a lot more happening. And not say I'm proud to say, but I have never ever shied away. And I think I'm quite like direct, and I do have the confidence to approach people that I think I am interested on knowing them on a deeper level. So I'm never the kind that I will just like secretly crush on somebody without
quiet, then feel sad at home.
Yeah, I would just go for it, right? So I would like try my like chances and just make it happen. But the truth is that I did not get attached in my 2 years in JC, right? Okay, so to give you all more of a background story, what happened was that there were a lot of different stuff going on. But there was this girl that I was really in love with. All right. I think in love is a real word then. Okay. Even though my definition of love now and how I understood it back then was different, but I was really in love with this person. All right. So I really wanted to get together with her. So truth is, turned out that she was very resistant. But actually, she had interest in me too. But I think we were both of the mindset that, A levels was coming, and both of us, we weren't doing very well for our exams. So we couldn't really afford that distraction. So we both agreed to take this until after A levels. So after A levels occurred, the week right after, we actually got together. So I confessed to her properly and we got together, and she was actually my girlfriend. Yeah, but that's my ex-girlfriend now, so we'll put that out of the way. But yeah, so I was really caught in a romantic phase when I was in JC. Thinking back, I thought that it was really sweet. I think that was something that I think I wouldn't have changed, even though we didn't end up together after. I mean, we got together, then we broke up. But overall, I thought that was a period of youth romance that, honestly, you can only watch in movies and in dramas, and you only get to experience it once, So I had no regrets experiencing it. And I think I still look back with more bittersweet memories on those good days that we had. And that moments when your heart is like beating double fast when they walk past, those feelings are hard to recapture, especially when you grow older. Even though I think relationship will take on a very different meaning as you grow older. Okay, now enough of my stories. I can share more juice later. Xin Wei, what about you? What about your love story? Sorry, accidentally paused. Yeah, Xin Wei, go on.
Yeah, I think as I said, like there was not much juicy stuff as well, but I definitely get what you mean. Like I think when I was in secondary school is in I was in girls' school, so I'm just gonna skip that phase. But like JC, there were definitely times where you're like, I think I was very clear about like, oh, this feeling, like I don't think I ever like fell in love, like what you just described, but definitely there was this kind of attraction because your schoolmate, of course, your schoolmate and like your seniors or like your batchmate, everyone, there'll definitely be like charismatic people, right? And good looking, like good at sports, smart. All these things will make someone feel like, oh, this person is really cute, this person is really attractive. But I think that kind of feeling, I think back then when I was a student, I was quite clear that, oh, okay, this kind of feeling can happen to any people who are like good, like of a good standard. And there are many of these kind of people around. So my only thing, like I also felt that, and I would be friends. I want to be friends with them. Like I'm a bit like Darrell, but not like in the romantic sense. Like I would want to be friends with these like people that I think who are charismatic, who are like good in the things they do. Yeah. So I will go and be friends with them, but nothing romantic really develop. Because it wasn't to that extent. Yes.
So it might be more of admiration rather than love lah, if you put it in that sense.
Yes. I never like. I think it's quite sad that like when I look back, right, like I never had those crazy drama moments. Like, you know, every time you watch K-drama, then those like youth love story, youth romance, they are like like they're really drama. Like, so I never had those moments, which is sometimes when you look back, maybe a bit regretful. But yeah, definitely have those kind of people who are like really worthy of being admired. Yes.
Okay, I'm not coming on here as a love doctor, but I just wanted to answer some of the questions in the chat. And yes, we are technically both uncle auntie already.
No, not so old yet.
Okay, but I mean, to answer some of the questions, right? It's like if you're very shy kind and you like don't really dare to confess, then how does it work, right? I think the most important thing, right, is that there is definitely the fear of getting rejected, right? We're all humans. We don't want our feelings to be hurt. Definitely, if you get rejected, you feel sad and stuff. But one thing I always tell myself is that if I really like the girl and yet I don't let my feelings be known, nothing's going to happen out of it, right? Especially since she doesn't know how you're feeling as well. So I think it's important to keep that perspective in mind rather than, oh, I'm afraid of getting rejected. What I was more afraid of is not knowing how our future will have panned out. Let's say if I confess, in a very mature way, not like a creepy way where I stalk her and stuff, but actually make an effort and to reach out and to try to communicate and stuff. And if I'm rejected, it's fine. At least I know like I tried, oh, this is the end where our story ends. But if I didn't even try, our story didn't even get started. So I think that was always something that I told myself, to push myself through the barrier of being too afraid to confess to somebody I had feelings for. Of course, I do think it shouldn't be like purely a eye candy thing, and then you're like, wow, this person like gorgeous, right? Then you're in love with that person without even knowing who that person is, how their personality is like and stuff. I think it's always best to start off as friends, getting to know the person on a deeper level, having more conversations. I think that is really the kickstarter. Then after that, if you talk about feelings developing and stuff, a lot of times you can feel it, right? Because it has to be a mutual thing, right? Because when you talk to that person, and if you sense that the person is actively interested in talking to you and replying you and stuff, you get a sensing of how that person feel. But if you're getting very cold replies or no replies at all, then you kind of know where to draw your line, right? Because like, okay, that's cool, I'll move on, like life goes on, right? And there's a lot of other things you can focus on in life. But of course, if there's somebody you like and you already have a conversation ongoing and you reach a point where you are firm of your feelings, I don't think it's a bad thing to just confess, because I think really if you don't take action, that would be your biggest regret. Xin Wei, did something like that come across your mind?
I think from like a girl's perspective, since you're talking since this question is kind of like men being shy, not being able to confess, I think firstly, I think both girl and boy can go for it, right? It's not like, oh, only can be like guy chase girls. At least that's what I think. So if there is female listener like listening and then you have someone who you're interested in, you can also go for it. But I agree that you should take it slow instead of like the very creepy kind. Like I think girls can sense it, like if the sole intention of like someone talking to you is like they never even befriend, never even understand you yet, but they are what they can think of just that, oh, I like this person, I want to get together with this person. But how, like, what is your consideration and things like that? And then oh yes, so I think if really no chance, and just how Darrell mentioned, like how you will definitely know, right? I think to certain extent you will know. At least this person is friendly to you. But this person is like don't even want to reply you, like reply okay. I think that says a lot lah. Then I would really advise to move on also. I think I'm also the kind like if really doesn't work out, then doesn't work, then just move on. Yeah.
Anyway, then I think I'll throw a more like nuanced situation, which is that, you guys are talking all great and stuff, but then you kind of are risking the friendship, assuming you confess and then like, things get awkward. So I'm sure you might have been caught in a similar situation. What's your take on that?
Okay, I must admit that I have friends who eventually drifted apart because of this. Because it got too awkward, and even though like one side could be like, oh, okay, it's not awkward, it's not awkward. Like I can tell myself that it's not awkward, just have to like be as per normal as like last time. But actually the truth is that yes, something has changed. And it's sad because before this whole thing, like you guys are really close friends. But I think when I said that, I think my friends were like, oh, so how do you know if maybe this person only treated you so well because there is that intention, right? So I think there is definitely the risk, and but I also think that if the friendship is close enough, it will withstand this. Like the awkwardness will eventually pass, and then actually I'm not sure about the awkwardness part, because to be honest, for me, the friendship just drifted apart. Like eventually, like at first, like right after the confess, it was okay, but eventually, slowly, it just like you just don't hang out as much because you don't want to give the wrong idea, right? And you don't want people to think that why are you still leading this person on, if you already rejected this person, like why are you still hanging out so closely? Yeah.
I think it's inevitable, especially, as we talked about how when you spend more time together, you tend to get a lot closer. And it's inevitable you'll fall into situations where you end up falling for the friend you never thought you would, right? Maybe your best friend or a friend in your clique. I think that's normal, and you shouldn't try to suppress those feelings. But I think it's more important to recognize those feelings and then really absorb it and think about it, right? So I think sometimes it also is very helpful to have more perspective. Why? Think about it from this way. Let's say if you really like, suddenly you feel like you're falling in love with your friend, right? I want you to think about it. What if say this friend wasn't part of your clique, right? Let's say he is like outside of your clique. Would you have made the confession then versus when they're in the clique? So I think it's okay. I don't really know where I'm going with this, because based on my own experience, right? I mean, there were situations like that where I know that if I confess, it would jeopardize the whole clique or the whole family vibes or the whole clique vibes, because we are right now, the clique might be very platonic, right? Everything is all fun and stuff. And if you are the one that comes out and like make everything very awkward by confessing and stuff, then it gets very dicey. But I think you really need to weigh the pros and cons. So like if you think you're really serious about this and you can sense that it's also similar from the other party, then I think it's really worth a try to go down that route. But of course, maybe you might just want to give yourself a bit more time, before maybe you start to see your feelings fading and stuff. So for myself, right, I do believe that platonic friendships do exist. So I have a lot of female friends just because from the nature of like, even in university for my course itself, it was dominantly female because I was in media. So actually I made a lot of friends with female, and I'm very comfortable around them. And a lot of these friendships, right, they started off platonic and they stayed platonic throughout. And I think that in itself is also very beautiful. I don't think like when you're with somebody of opposite gender, or even in any case of the same gender, you feel like you're attracted to them. I don't think that all friendships has to be structured that way. So sometimes a platonic friendship, it also contains a lot of love, a lot of care, a lot of concern, encouragement, and support. But when we are talking about a romantic relationship, I think what goes into that is very different, and it's really dependent on your definition of what love is to you. So I think don't be too fixated, and I don't think there's a hard rule out here on whether you should or shouldn't. I think trust your guts, trust your feelings, and most importantly, just be true to yourself. If you feel like you're going to regret not saying what you're going to say or confess how you feel, then just do it. Whatever happens next, you have no control over it. Sometimes even if you don't confess, and you might still drift apart, or maybe you confess and you drift apart, you can't control the future. So I think just be true to your feelings and true to your thoughts and your stream of consciousness, and just go with it. That's how you should be living your life. Don't be too worried about too many things. Just go. Doesn't work out, you move on. Next chapter, you're gonna meet new people in life too. So don't be too fixated on just the present.
I think that's quite an important point. It's like, because our listeners are let's say our listeners are mainly secondary school and JC kids, right? Let's say you met someone in secondary school and you're like, oh my god, this person is my like dream, my ideal type, like everything that I want in a partner. But to be honest, you are like 16 max or like 18 max. There is like so many years ahead of you, and there's still so many people that you'll meet in uni. Uni is even like bigger, right? Your secondary school may be like RI was 1,002 people, but NUS was huge. I don't even know how many people are there in NUS, but there are a lot more people you'll meet. And I think what you think is like the best right now, and let's say it didn't work out, and you think that, okay, I just lost the best, I just like, my life is ruined, no one's gonna come about anymore. I think that's false, because there's still a lot of opportunity. As long as you're willing to put yourself out there, you go and meet new people, I'm sure like there'll still be other people as well. Yeah.
For me, right, I think the notion of the right one or the only one, right? For me, I don't think there's an only one, because I believe that the world is really so big. It really depends on the kind of experiences you go through, and also meeting the right person at the right time in your life, and also in the right phase in your life. I think that's very important, because a lot of what couples bond over is the common journey that they pursue. So if let's say you guys are at very drastically different places in your life, it's also very difficult to relate to one another and to support one another, which is why it's very common that when in school, right, because you're all going through the same education system, the same journey, you can kind of feel each other's pain and stuff. And there's a lot of things that you guys can relate to. So you're actually put in an environment where you're exposed to so many stimulus, and it's not surprising that you'll feel attraction for somebody. I think that is normal. But I think you also need to throw away the notion that if not this person, there's nobody else. Because as Xin Wei said, you have no idea how the future chapters in your lives are going to pan out. So you need to give yourself that comfort of that. Sometimes we are not happy with uncertainty because we are scared, right? We don't know what's coming. But actually what's coming your way might be really exciting. And there's really a lot that you do not know until you come across it. So sometimes you think you have a visualization of like what's your ideal type. You want like this, and this. Until you meet the person that you completely fall crazily in love with and they fit none of that criteria. That is gonna happen. So don't be too sure about anything when it comes to love.
A lot of my friends are like that. Like they didn't, like their partner isn't really like what they think they would end up with, who they will end up with, but they are still madly in love with that person. Yeah.
I think that's the beautiful thing about love, like, it's unexpected. It comes in unexpected places, and it's all around encompassing. I feel that okay, if we go back to our theme for today, like on youth romance, right? Do I encourage it or not? I'll put it plainly, right? I think if it's a relationship whereby it helps both parties grow, right? It's filled with encouragement, positivity, communication, and maturity. I don't see why it's going to be a bad thing, right? But if the relationship is very toxic, right, full of jealousy, mistrust, and it sucks up too much of your time because one party is way too needy compared to the other, then I don't think it's a good fit. Then I think it's only right to walk away from it, right? To start maybe another chapter in your life without holding on for too long. Something that I think when it comes to love is that you need to understand that there is no right or wrong here, right? You cannot say like, oh, I feel bad to break up because like what. You need to understand that at the end of the day, everybody, you have to make choices, right? And this is just one of the life choices that you have to make. So if you are asking for my opinion, I think if it works out, everything is great. Make sure it's a healthy relationship, most importantly. And when you do get into a relationship, don't forget your friends and your family still, right? Because those are also relationships you want to maintain. But if you can find a partner that is there to energize you, to pick you up when you're down, I think that's perfect. But even if you don't find that person, don't need to feel the rush for it. Because if you get into a bad relationship, that is worse, a negative one, right? or or one-sided love, that is also very tough. So I think my advice here is that if it works, go for it. But if it doesn't, don't feel in a rush, because there are still so many areas in your life that you want to explore, discovering yourself and learning to love yourself. I think those are all areas that are a little bit more urgent, especially at a younger age compared to when you're much older.
I think Darrell brought up a really good point. I think it really applies across age group. I think love is beautiful. Like I think that's why we all love watching K-dramas and like all the movies and everything. It's really, really beautiful, but I think there are really, really many aspects of life other than love. And if let's say you really didn't meet that person, or like the person that you thought is that the person didn't work out, I think there's really a lot of things that you can work on in life. If let's say like youth romance, like what Darrell says, studying, your passion, your friends, your family, your hobby, anything, and I think they while love haven't come by, I think you can work on yourself, and when love come by, you are really fully ready to like embrace that, because you as a whole is ready. Yeah.
I realized I think this point is so important. I wanted to move over to the next segment, but I realized, wow, this one is really impactful. So if you're listening, right, please know this. The first thing you need to do, right, is to learn to love yourself. Because a person incapable of loving themselves will find it very difficult to love somebody else as well. I think that is something you have to be very central about. It's only after you're comfortable in your own skin, you learn to appreciate who you are as a human being. That's when people will start to learn to appreciate you for who you are. You have to be true to yourself. You need to know yourself and you need to embrace the way you are. That's the only way people are going to be attracted to you. So if you're at a stage whereby you feel like, I have a crush on this person, but that person is not reciprocating, I think instead of thinking of why that person is not reciprocating, focus on how can you grow yourself further. Because a confident person that is very comfortable in their own skin, that knows exactly who they are, that person would be able to draw love a lot more, because they are already full of love of themselves and is overflowing, and that love is infectious and it will spread. And that's when you find that you draw a lot more, not just of your lover kind, but a lot more friends and people around you to be a supportive system. Yeah. So I think that's the first step. Okay. But I think I just wanted to address one last point before we end off today's very interesting podcast, which is the fear of getting rejected. I just wanted to come back to this point. Now, for some of you out there, you might be stuck in a situation, right, in a limbo whereby, you have a crush on somebody, but you are very unsure whether to go for it. It's always a one step forward, one step back. And you see maybe that person speaking to somebody else which you feel is better than you, like more good looking, better grades. You might feel inferior and you might feel like might not match up to your crush. Then my question to you would be, why not work on yourself first? Right? So I think the mindset of the fear of getting rejected comes a lot from the fact that you yourself, you feel inferior. I think that and constitutes to around 90% of why you're so afraid of getting rejected. A confident person that is full of energy and is capable of loving themselves fully, firstly, I think they might not even be actively searching for love. But let's say they really, fall in love with a person, then they won't feel any threat at all, right? Because even if they confess and you get rejected, it's fine. I'm by myself. I'm happy that there is no need to feel overly upset. But if you're dependent on somebody else's validation and affirmation to feel good about yourself, then I think you're putting yourself in a very dangerous position. Because even after you get into a relationship with that person, if things don't work out, you're gonna get hit real bad, because you're depending on another person to feel love for yourself, to love you. You need to learn to love yourself first. I've seen cases where my friends, they broke up in JC and it just went downhill to the extent that he left like JC after, like it was really that bad where he didn't even take his A-levels and stuff. So you might want to tread very carefully if you're in a stage whereby you're thinking, whether to confess or not. You need to first evaluate yourself before you take that leap of faith. I think that is something you might want to keep in mind.
I think the idea is not that getting rejected is like you will feel fine. I think it's totally fair to feel sad, right? I think rejection is just an unpleasant feeling. It's totally fine to be sad, to be upset, and to even doubt yourself a bit. I think it's totally understandable because rejection just doesn't feel good. But I think the idea is that you can't rely on anyone to give you the validation, the happiness that you need. I think, of course, I think people around me give me a lot of happiness, but without them, I can also give myself sufficient happiness to give myself, like, I can live like that. Yeah. So only when you can be alone, you can appreciate you. Only when you can live alone, like, you know that you are totally comfortable being alone, you are okay with yourself, then that person is at point. It's not that person is completing you. It's not you will be too reliant on that person, I think. And I think when you are too reliant on someone for like external sources for happiness and like all this intrinsic thing, right? If they are gone, then I think your life would really be very messy and very hard to recover. So if it's possible, don't even get into that state. I think that's what I was trying to say. Like, don't get yourself into that state. Focus on yourself, and you can feel sad, but you're less likely to fall into like that deep hole that you really just spiral down. Yeah.
So Xin Wei, how was your love life in uni then?
It's a lot more exciting, but still not as juicy not as exciting as yours lah. Not as exciting as yours.
But how's mine juicy? I barely shared anything. But Xin Wei, you have to share a story, man. Our listeners are waiting out there.
I really say there's nothing much. It's just I never ever like really fall in love with someone, but I just think that some, like, okay, the truth is, when I don't know how to say this. I'm very scared that these people will listen. But let's say I think someone is very like, let's say example, they're very good at like certain things they do. Let's say they're very good at certain sports. And then I'll be like, wow, this person is very charismatic. And then I'll be like, as I said, I will go and befriend them, right? And of course, it's not like totally unrelated. There is mutual friend, mutual activity, that kind of thing. Then I go and befriend them. But then eventually, after befriending these people that I used to think that are like really attractive, and they are still attractive to me, but we became really good friends, and it just didn't work out. Like, it just cannot work out. We are still very good friends until now. Like, yeah. And sometimes when I look back, I'll be like, oh my god, I used to have a crush on this person, but now we are like brothers. So yes, a lot of like a few of these happen, but yeah, eventually the feeling fade also. So I think, yes, I haven't found someone that I really like crazy over yet.
I see. I'll set you up then. Okay.
Yeah, introduce me. If you have any good bachelor that's about 25 and above, good looking, introduce me, hit me up. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, anyway, I just wanted to touch on 2 points before I finish off. I think going back to what Xin Wei said, right? This one is quite scary. You have to think about it, whether it applies to your situation, which is you think about the person and you visualize the person to be how you want them to be, which is, in a way, you don't really know the person very well as your crush, but you just keep thinking of them as being very perfect, that they are exactly the way you want them to be. You give them this very like all around era. Yeah, you put them on a pedestal and then you feel like they are everything. But the truth is that once you befriend them, right, you realize that they are just humans like you. They are not that awesome in the all-encompassing way that you imagine them to be. So a lot of that love and that infatuation, all of it is born over your own imagination. So I think if you're in a phase whereby you're very distant from the person you're in love with, I think the first step, right, is to get to know the person, because a lot is going to change after that. So you don't, because it's the same as celebrities and idols, right? Basically, you don't know them, so you have a very perfect image of them, right? That is just the front that you see, right? On social media, what you see on TikTok, what you think of them, or what people say about them. But actually, a lot of times that's not the case. It's not to the extent whereby they are the perfect human being you envision them to be. So I think that is one danger area you might want to get out of if you're caught in this very infatuation stage whereby it doesn't really exist. Yeah. And then there was a second point that I wanted to raise, but I sort of forgot already. Shit. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I think what I wanted to say was if you are ever caught in a situation whereby you are wait, I can't remember what I was gonna say already. Oh shit. Okay, never mind. Xin Wei, you got any
Never mind, you
points?
think first. Think first. What I wanted to say was that even though we say all this, right? But I think I just wanted to like, I think all of this is like our idea of very healthy relationship. And I think they are good ideas, right? But um kids nowadays, you have feelings like I, I think it's very hard to control, right? So I still hope that like, people can find like not like the one that can last like until the end. Because you need to go through changes in JC, you need to go through A level, you need to go through army. All these transition phase, right, are phases that will be very challenging. Darrell, all the breakup wave is during the transition phase, right? Your experience. All the breakup wave that I see is all these changing points, all these turning points. So I just wish everyone to, if there is anyone, like go and try. But yeah, I think most important is that you must don't like go straight into it and then like fall head over. It's more like you should really go and understand this person, and then if they still fit what you think they are, then you can go for it.
Hey man, you're young, go pursue love, be happy, just listening to two adults here talking about love. But yeah, I guess at the core of it, we hope that you'll be happy. All right. And if you do get into a relationship, make sure it's a healthy one. If it's a one-sided relationship and it's getting unhealthy, it's better to let go and move on. By the core of it, work on yourself, learn to love yourself. I think that's more important than anything else. Today was the first edition of our live stream. I think we got a very, very small audience, but regardless, we are super thankful for you being here. And we're just going to answer one or two questions before we end it off, okay? So we have a question here. I think this student here, you're in JC, but your boyfriend's in poly. So how do you manage it? I think, of course, first things first is that you need a lot of communication. I think like what Xin Wei posted in the chat. I think at the core of all relationship is about effort, is about commitment, is about communication, right? Is that three C's? Whatever. But it's really important. First thing first, you need to make the effort, right? Especially since now you're in different schools, your timetable might not line up. You want to put in the extra effort to go down to find him on a school day, or to take the extra half an hour for a call to chat and catch up. Especially since you're going through different experiences, he might not understand what you're going through when it comes exam period versus maybe his hell week when his projects are due in poly. But I think all of these worries and concerns can be communicated. I've seen couples since secondary school and they got married. It's real.
Super
it's
cute.
possible.
Super cute.
Yes. And I don't think it's just one or two. There's quite a few that actually worked out, And I think really it goes back down to if you're a good fit and you put in the effort, you stay committed to the relationship and you're constantly communicating your thoughts and how you feel, you can ride the ups and downs of the relationship. You can really make it work. But a lot of times, the reason why relationships don't work is because of a complete breakdown in communication. For example, you're feeling some negative thoughts and some negative feelings and you choose to bottle it up. Because you need to realize when you bottle up your feelings, the other party wouldn't know how you feel. And you can't expect them to know how you feel as well. Right. And then that's when you start to feel very edgy. Then the person don't understand why you're being edgy. Then, that's when conflicts start and all. But I think another thing important is that it's inevitable that in relationships, you will have quarrels, you have conflicts. That's normal. But I think it's also very important to learn how to navigate through those, communicating through what went wrong and, talking about it in a less emotional state and to really lay things out on how to work on the relationship. For me, I think for two individuals to come together is amazing because you live completely different life. You might have different sets of values and upbringing, but putting two individuals together, you need to realize it's a very difficult task, right? So you really need to spend extra time to understand each other beyond the honeymoon phase, right? The puppy love phase where you're just in love because you're in love. What takes from the third or the 6th month or the 1 year mark onwards is really about the communication and the commitment already. So to this student out there who is worrying about your relationship, I think just trust that, put in the time and the effort, and I think it really will go a long way. Okay. We have another question. Maybe we can answer that. Is open relationship a thing? Xin Wei, what do you think? especially
it really
in schooling days.
depends open relationship in schooling days. I think it really depends on individual. If you are okay with that and your partners are okay with that, I think that's fine. I think it really depends on that person. Yeah, but personally, I think not very into it.
Or for myself, I'm a bit low key when I'm in a relationship, which means, okay, my thought is that if I'm happy and I'm contented in my relationship, I don't really need to tell everybody about it. So it's not about the social status or the social affirmation that I'll need, because I'm really contented and I'm in a very happy relationship. There isn't much that I need to blast and tell the world about. I think if you are in a relationship just so that you are cool and like, everybody's like, wow, you're like, you want to like open relationship and flaunt it, then I think that's a very dangerous rabbit hole to jump down. But of course, if both parties are comfortable, go for it. But keeping it low key is not a bad thing, especially if you're in the same school and you're gonna be drawing a lot of attention from everyone. You might prefer to shy away from that. Even though at the start it might feel good that you got everybody's attention, everybody's talking about, oh, they ship you, this couple is like what. But after a while,
Darrell, you understand open relationship wrong. The
as in like multiple partners, is it?
Yes, right.
Because
That's what open relationship means.
Oh, but I'm thinking more of like in secondary school context, like
do you want
open
to go
versus
public,
private. I'm not too sure at this level they know what an open relationship is. Okay, but whatever, man.
Yeah.
I'm subjected to interpretation.
Yes.
Okay, but regardless, I think this itself has been very like I think
quite fun to talk about.
Yeah, I think we had fun talking about it too, and we hope that you kids on took out bits and pieces of what you can take away from it, but really just embark on this journey of love with a lot of thought and consideration, but don't let it turn into inaction. I think there is no love that blossoms without action. So if you're overly hesitating, I think just go for it. And do not be overly afraid of getting rejected. I think that is real. And I think because there's an ego at stake, you might feel like, oh, I don't want to get rejected. But I mean, I feel that way too. I have an ego too, right? So if I get rejected, I'll feel like shit. But the truth is, nothing happens if you don't take action, right? So if you feel like you want to pursue your love, go for it. But even if you get rejected, be sad, but don't be too sad, all right? Life goes on. Okay, and I think with that, we come to the end of today's podcast. Thank you for all our listeners on the live stream and your interesting questions. This podcast itself will be uploaded on YouTube and on our Spotify podcast, so you can tune in. If you are watching this on YouTube, the recorded version, please give us a like so more people can hear the stories of the love doctors. Okay? Yeah, and with that, we come to the end of the podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
It sound right, boy.